Now, with HBO's The Last of Us series releasing to incredible reviews and numbers, a lot of new eyes will naturally fall upon The Last of Us game franchise, and people will undoubtedly hear about the controversy that is The Last of Us Part 2. Now, as you'd know from my last video, I only just recently played it, and I thought it was amazing. However, I do acknowledge that a lot of people have some major issues with this game. I mean, there's a reason why it's the most divisive game probably of all time. Now, I've been researching reasons for why people hate this game so much and why this controversy is still ongoing even today. And so I've compiled a list of some of the most relevant and common criticisms that I've seen for this game. And some are completely fair and understandable, and some are just so far out of reach that I question whether media literacy and common decency have been lost through this incredible lack of nuance that the internet breeds. But I digress. This video will only really be possible if you add to the conversation as well. If I've missed anything you want to bring up, or you want to double down on any of my points, then feel free to leave your comments down below. Also, consider subscribing and becoming a member, it really helps out the channel. However, I think this video is important and relevant, especially now that the TV show is so popular. Well, I mean, of course some people don't like it, and there are some very sane reactions to this show. However, we won't talk about those now. I also think more and more people seem to be coming around to this game as time goes on, so I think this is the perfect opportunity to delve into the question, why do people hate The Last of Us Part 2? And of course, there are spoilers ahead. Now, I'm going to start off with one of the more level-headed criticisms that I've seen, and this criticism is that The Last of Us 2 has a messy story and structure. And this one is understandable to me. After playing around 10 hours as Ellie on her murder spree trying to get revenge for Joel by killing Abby, and then after this massive cliffhanger, we're then forced to play another 10ish hours as Abby, seeing her point of view. And remember, at this point we've seen her kill Joel, kill Jesse, and she's currently holding us at gunpoint. So instead of getting the immediate payoff of seeing what happens next, the game instead plays the long game, forcing us to play as Abby for a significant amount of time, seeing her struggles, her interactions, and her development. And if you're like me and you grew to really appreciate Abby as a character, then this whole section made the two confrontations we then get between Ellie and Abby so much more impactful, and gives them a completely different perspective than if we had only played as Ellie. However, not everyone enjoyed Abby's part the way I did, and that's still significant. A lot of people were very angry that we had to play as the villain and not the heroes like we wanted to, and I guess this is where there is a massive disconnect between what this game set out to do and what people wanted it to be. This is not a typical hero-villain story. Abby is not the villain of the story, just like how Joel and Ellie aren't the heroes of the first game and this game respectively. Abby is simply reacting to what happened to her father, just like how Ellie is reacting to the death of her own father, or father figure if you want to be technical. This franchise isn't about building up heroes, it's about showing us the gritty and unmistakable reality of human nature. This doesn't mean we don't grow to care for these characters, we absolutely do. Ellie and Joel are beloved characters, but they're not heroes. Just like how we might hate Abby, but that doesn't make her a villain. I thought playing as Abby really brought out these themes, but this isn't what a lot of people want from a game. They don't want to play as the person who killed their favorite character. And that's understandable. People play games for different reasons, and everyone responds to stories differently. Now, there are other moments in the story that I've seen people criticize, such as Lev not really reacting much to the deaths of Yara and his mom, which he essentially caused. I mean, there's a bit of sadness and regret, but we don't see him struggling with it very much, and so his character arc isn't really resolved in the most satisfying way. However, I think most of the Division revolves around perspective. What kind of game do we want to play? Do we see Joel as a hero or not? Do we appreciate seeing Abby's side of the story? This game and the way it's structured absolutely isn't for everyone, and that's completely fine. However, I just want to talk a little more about Joel's death, because I think this is by far the biggest divider. It's at least the main topic I've seen come up in this debate around whether this game fails or succeeds. Now, I think people would have been okay with this plot point if Joel had gotten a hero's death. But again, Joel's not a hero. He's a beloved character, yes, but he was never a hero. At the end of the last game, he does the unheroic and selfish thing, which is to save Ellie because he can't lose another daughter, rather than saving humanity by sacrificing the last hope he has of ever feeling whole again. Joel dying brutally for the choice he made last game, which was to brutally and inhumanely kill a whole hospital full of fireflies, including the father of the person who eventually kills him, is poetic justice. This is a world where the choices you make have consequences. The choice Joel made might have been the right one for us because we cared about Joel and Ellie, and we didn't really trust the Fireflies, as they were going to let Ellie die. We fully understand the choice Joel made. However, what if we had played the whole first game from Abby and her father's point of view? If we spent hours going through a heartwarming and tragic story that really made us care about them, and then at the end of the game, some psychopath and his daughter kill Abby's father and the whole hospital. We'd want to kill Joel just as much as we want to kill Abby in this game for what she did to Joel. I hope this makes sense, because what I'm trying to say is that Joel getting brutally murdered might be extreme to some people. It might make you not want to play the game, and that's fine. I understand that. However, I just think it's important to understand why this had to happen in the way that it did, and what kind of story Neil Druckmann was trying to tell. He said back before this game came out that it was not going to be like the first one. Where the first game was about love, the sequel would be about hate. I don't think people were truly prepared for this. They felt betrayed, they felt it wasn't deserved. And again, I think it boils down to a difference in perspectives. However, I just want to quickly mention the trailer, because I know some people were angry that they showed Joel a lot during the build-up to this game, only for him to die early on. And of course this was done to not spoil the game, but a lot of people still felt cheated by the trailer. Now, I don't really watch trailers much myself. I think they either raise expectations way too high or they give spoilers, but just because I don't really care much for trailers doesn't mean I can't understand if the trailer showed you one thing and you got something else, and that doesn't sit well with you, because that's perfectly fine. However, I'll move on. Now, if you remember back to before this game came out, there was a massive leak that basically spoiled big parts of the game, including the fact that Joel would die. And a lot of people sadly latched onto these leaks and already decided that they weren't going to like the game before even playing it. When you go on Metacritic and look at some of the reviews from the day the game came out, there are so many zeros, and maybe I've missed something. Maybe some people had the chance to play it earlier or something, but it just really seems like a lot of people base their opinions of this game on the leaks, rather than giving the game a chance. Which is of course a sad trend on the internet, that so many people form their opinions on something before it releases. This isn't to say that there are only zeros on Metacritic, there are also a lot of 10s, and of course a lot of that is a reaction to the hate, and you can call that toxic if you want, but I don't think that's relevant. What I'm more concerned about is how devastating the leaks were for the conversation surrounding this game, because it sadly led to a lot of people judging the game before it ever had the chance to make a good impression. Now, this point leads into the whole SJW woke angle that many YouTubers spread about this game, as there's a significant overlap between channels that pounced on the leaks and who then later shat on the game. And basically, these supposed SJW moments in the game ultimately had a significant effect on how a lot of people viewed this game, and sadly a lot of it stems from bigotry. For example, there were and still are people who don't like that Ellie is lesbian. They think it's being shoved down our throats for some kind of an agenda, when the first game was apparently apolitical. And all I have to say to arguments like these is, did you not play the first game? More specifically, the DLC Left Behind, where it clearly set up that Ellie is into girls. And listen, even if they hadn't mentioned this in the first game, even if Ellie's sexuality was still ambiguous, and it was only revealed in the sequel that she's gay, that would still be fine. There is nothing wrong with the character being gay. And I'm tired of even giving people the benefit of the doubt. Oh, but I don't have a problem with gay people. I just don't want it shoved down my throat. Yeah, fuck you. That's a shit argument. You're just homophobic. You feel icky about it. Just say it like it is. And sadly, this sentiment doesn't even seem to be going away. I feel like prominent right-wing people are becoming bolder and bolder in their anti-gay messaging, as is clearly evident anytime anything that portrays gay people in any capacity comes out, and people go into hissy fits because they feel threatened. This was a problem back when this game came out, and it's still a problem now. We need to do something about it. However, homophobia isn't the only culprit here. People naturally also had to sprinkle in a bit of transphobia just for good measure, and it's not even relevant. It's just dumb. People were calling Abby transgender when she's not. Just because a woman is big, strong, and muscular doesn't mean she's transgender. They should be very simple to understand. Oh, but women can't get that big. They can't build muscle like a man can. And to that I say, fuck you. Women absolutely can get that big. Doesn't happen very often, because yes, on average, women can't build muscle as easily or to the same extent as a man can, but they can absolutely get as big as Abby, especially if they live the lifestyle she does. And she was already pretty built even as a teenager. But again, this doesn't matter. Even if Abby was transgender, why would that matter? Please enlighten me. I find it funny that so many transphobes spent so much energy on Abby that they didn't even focus on Lev, who's actually transgender. I mean, some people definitely did criticize that too, but like, they have nothing to hold it in. Lev falling out with his clan due to who he was is a really interesting story thread. But no, stop forcing your political messages down our throats. We've had enough. Honestly, people got so triggered by Abby and Lev that they fully began to lose their minds, and it's glorious.
Anybody who doesn't like the scene is a virgin. Now, let me tell you something. I'm 65 years old. I had more sex last week than all the employees at IGN put together in the last year, okay? My one response to this is this.
However, we can't forget that they killed off Joel, the strong image of masculinity, to make room for the strong women. Essentially, this criticism goes that Joel died to prove a political point, not for the sake of the story, which is also just completely wrong and insane. Oh, but of course, I'm sorry. How could I forget? They shrunk Joel's shoulders, made him look soft. Alright, I know I'm taking the piss here, but this stuff is actually really serious and important. Media nowadays, whether it be video games, movies, TV shows, comics, or whatever else, that attempts to say anything positive about social groups that are in one way or another discriminated against or just not fully accepted in society, are always met with this flow of hatred from these concerned fans who are really just using their supposed love for this media as a veil for their bigotry. It's a real problem, and oftentimes this discourse doesn't just stay within the conversation surrounding the media itself, it often leads to harassment towards the creators and actors. Neil Druckmann, the writer and director, has had to endure the incredibly intelligent roast that is Neil Cuckman, but he's also faced a lot of backlash online from angry fans, and a lot of this shit is really fucking disgusting. Listen, you can hate this game all you want, you can think that Neil did a horrible job. After all, he wrote this story, so you can disagree heavily with him on that, but sending him these levels of hate, even death threats, is just not okay. I don't understand what world we're living in where people feel so entitled that when a video game they don't like comes out, they think it's their right to harass the people who made it. It gets even worse with the actors who played Abby, both the voice actor, face actor, and the body double. Laura Bailey tweeted about the hate she received, and the fact that human beings wrote this makes me sick. Sending hate messages to the writer is already horrible, but at least he wrote the damn thing. The voice actors were literally just doing their job. Just imagine being such a lowly scum that you're sending death threats to the actors and creators and even their children, just because you're upset at a video game. Holy shit, I understand now why these people call Joel their hero. They probably cheered him on as he murdered a whole hospital full of people, instead of seeing any ounce of nuance that the game was trying to tell them. These are probably the same types of people who say that gamers are oppressed, but when people talk about toxic gaming culture, this is absolutely what comes to mind. Now, the ending is another part of this game that seems to have people split. Some people hated Abby before the game came out, and they hated her even more playing the game, and so they were outraged that they didn't get the chance to kill her. And some people just didn't understand the ending. I talked in depth about the ending in my previous video, so I won't go into too much detail now. However, I just want to say that if you genuinely thought that the reason Ellie didn't kill Abby was because she realized that killing is bad, then I don't know what to tell you. The moral of this game isn't that killing is bad. Not even close. And I can't believe so many people missed the whole point of Ellie not killing Abby. Now, this is of course not everyone. Some people understand the themes of forgiveness and that this ending was about Ellie's relationship with Joel and not Abby, and they still don't like the ending. I think some people thought that we suffered all game for nothing, and I've seen the argument that we should have been given the choice to kill Abby, but that's just not how Naughty Dog tells their stories. For better or for worse, they don't care about the story the player wants told. They tell their story, and there's no nonsense about that. It's something I appreciate, but maybe not everyone does. And perhaps this game just isn't for you. I mean, people would have liked the choice of either killing the doctor or letting Ellie die in the original game, but again, Naughty Dog tells the story they want to, and I respect that. Some other complaints I've seen about the game are about how zombies are just not relevant anymore, which is kind of weird in a post-apocalyptic setting, and also the fact that there are some plot holes in the story, and so if you're a person who tends to focus a lot on plot consistency, then yeah, that'll probably annoy you. And honestly, I think both of these criticisms are completely valid. However, I just want to end off this video with a more ambiguous point. The Last of Us Part 2 is a very depressing game, and it's not for everyone. Some people think games should be fun, and there's there's nothing wrong with that, but other people might appreciate the bleak tone in this game and the grueling story that's so satisfying if, and only if, you resonate with the story. But I get it, some people won't like how this game just beats you to the ground and holds you down for like 20 hours. The first game was a bit more lighthearted in some instances. Although it was still quite depressing, it still had more hopeful themes. So yeah, if you go in expecting a game with a bit more joy, then you're in for a rough time, because the game can be very depressing. However, to round off, I think I can summarize this video like this. The Last of Us Part 2 is not a game for everyone. There's a reason it's the most divisive video game of all time. It's a game that makes a lot of bold and risky choices, all in favor of telling a beautiful and heartfelt story. However, if you disagree with the choices they made, then the story just won't have the same effect on you. This game doesn't hold back on saying what it wants to say, and potentially ostracizing a large part of the fanbase was the risk they ran. Of course, I don't think Naughty Dog were planning on splitting the fanbase like this, but I'm sure that they knew that they were going to upset some people with the decisions they made in-game. However, I for one loved this story, and so while I can understand and accept a lot of the criticism towards the game, I just don't personally see it that way. And I also think that some of the people criticizing the game are doing so in very bad faith. But what do you think? Let me know if I've missed any reasons that you have for not liking this game. I'm excited to read the comments. Also, thank you to my Patreons, including Ben Joseph. But other than that, I hope you all have a wonderful day, stay safe, and peace out.